All right, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever you hear this message, I pray that you're poised to receive, to accept, and to respond to words of wisdom. Ashe. I have been practicing Orisha lifestyle for about 30 years now. And if you followed my work over time, I'm a little bit of a skeptic, right? I'm a bit of a skeptic in the sense that I'm not trying to, some people are skeptical because they're trying to figure out ways to get out of something. For me, it just has to make sense. I have to think about things from multiple angles. And if I can't make sense of something, 9 times out of 10 is because there's a gap. Something's missing. So I think deeply about what I do. And if it doesn't make sense, I don't do it. And in the process of operating that way, one benefit I could say that I have derived from that is that it helps me to relate to more people, because I've thought about things. I may have thought about it the way you think about it, right? In the process of contemplating something, I've followed a line of thinking that it allows me to relate. So I know where you're coming from. Or as you introduce new angles and perspectives to me, I'm comfortable with listening and, kind of walking a mile in your shoes to get a sense of where you're really coming from. It's okay with me. I like thinking about things. And in the process, again, of thinking about things and thinking about the practice, I have had to analyze why African Americans are drawn to Orisha lifestyle. It's a recurring thought, for me, because this is not the easiest tradition to practice. It's not super accessible. And so I wonder, what is it that the people are getting out of this? When people are really flourishing and thriving in this tradition, like, what's happening for them? What are they getting? Right? And one of the things that I think our people really enjoy about the Orisha tradition is derived from divination and sacrifice. I think divination and sacrifice are really gratifying for us. Divination because you get a spiritual message that really is tailor-made for you, and it's not generalized to like your whole life. It's tailor-made to you in this circumstance. I think that we appreciate divine messaging that is really going to take into account where we are coming from, what we're really experiencing, not coming out of, like, for example, the 10 Commandments and things that are like in the Bible, like things are static. It's just like, this is what happened, and there's a set number of books and verses, and that's just it. And everything in the human experience is supposed to be encapsulated in that book, right? In the Quran, same way. But Ifa isn't like that. Ifa has exponentially more scenarios, number one. And number two, the scenarios through the divination process will speak to your condition, right? So I think that's one of the things that we really get out of it. We love it. Another thing that I think that African Americans really enjoy about Orisha tradition is sacrifice. And I think that we appreciate sacrifice because it represents the opportunity for us to be involved in influencing the situation. So the divination comes and it tells you, this is the scenario. This is where you are on the map. This is where you're trying to go. This is what you're going to have to experience. This is what you should do. This is what you should not do. And when you make sacrifice, hey, this is your ability to be an active participant in this thing. It could go one way or another based upon your willingness to participate. Oh, this is what I got to do to be, make it go my way. I'm willing to do it. I have a hand in the influence of how things turn out. That's very empowering. I think we really, really, really love that opportunity to finally be active participants in our spiritual journey. So in that process of thinking about the relationship between divination and sacrifice, and seeing lots and lots and lots of people approach the practice from a lot of different angles, one of the very key lessons that I have taken away and I want to share with you today is the fact that when we, of course, we start the process with divination, and then based on the divination, we make a sacrifice. But even when we make the sacrifice, there's a divination at the end of all the offerings. Ifa says we need to bring this and this, and there's 10 different items, and we got to prepare them in this very specific way, and we got to offer them in this whole sequence. It could be super elaborate, but at the end of all of that, we still have to do a divination. And in that divination, the sacrifice could not be accepted. It could be rejected. At the end of everything, you chanted all the verses, you gave all the offerings in the proper sequence, you gave them to the proper divinities, you put them where they belong, you kept the observances as you were supposed to, and the divinities can still say no. That's very sobering. That's very, very sobering. Okay? Now, the reason why this is an important lesson, if we take it out of the realm of the supernatural and we just keep it between people, what that realization suggests is that you can sacrifice everything for another person. You can give them everything. You can give up everything that you got. You can give up everything that you could be trying, everything that you know, in order to give this other person what they need. And that person always has the option to say no. They don't have to accept your sacrifice. And this is something that I think as a skeptic, I also have a fondness for Stoicism. Stoicism is a branch of Greek philosophy. And I'm pretty sure it's Marcus Aurelius who says, stop looking for the third thing. The third thing is, so the first thing is the problem. The second thing is the solution that you provide. And then the third thing is some kind of a compensation, recognition, acknowledgement, reciprocity. He says, stop looking for the third thing. Don't look for acknowledgement. Don't look for, compensation. Don't look for any of that. Because in your looking for that, in your expecting that, what you're doing is now you're polluting the whole process with this expectation and this wanting. And until you get that thing, now you're starting to feel resentful. You're starting to feel cheated. You're starting to feel taken advantage of. Stop looking for that third thing. As long as you're looking for that third thing, that means you're delaying your progress. You're delaying your transformation because you're sitting there waiting for this third thing to happen, when really you should have just done what you had to do and moved on, kept it moving. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So when you accept that a person, keeping it on a person-to-person level, a person is not obliged to accept your sacrifice, and you don't look for the third thing, hey, you do what needs to be done with what you have in the moment, with the certainty that what the problem that you're solving has been solved, and you know that is the case. You have the blessing of the insight of knowing that you know another remedy. Right? This is so liberating and so empowering, because I have personally been in situations where a person is refusing to accept my sacrifice as a form of manipulation. They're refusing to acknowledge, to reconcile, or to reciprocate or compensate my sacrifice as a way to keep me in bondage to them, in servitude to them. They have no intention of ever accepting my sacrifice. And they're holding their acceptance hostage, as a matter of fact. And the longer I wait, the more I delay my own growth. And I want to say this, on an even broader scale. I think that African Americans will really benefit from learning to let go of that attachment to the third thing, because I think that the broader white society is holding their acceptance of our sacrifice for ransom. I think that African Americans who've been raised with this consciousness of Jesus, we really believe that because of we've suffered like Jesus suffered. And ultimately, when the people accepted Jesus, everyone accepts Jesus because of his suffering. We want to be accepted like Jesus because of our suffering. And we go over and over and we toil over and we pour over all of the horrible things that have happened to us, hoping and praying that white people will accept us and embrace us and say, that's enough. Okay, you can be in now. It's not even that they have no intention, they have no reason to. There's no incentive for them to do so. They don't gain anything by accepting your sacrifice. But they do gain something by holding their acceptance hostage. They do get a lot out of that. And we lose a lot by constantly begging and pleading with them to give us work, to give us justice, to give us things that in all sincerity, we have the capacity to give to ourselves. We don't have to beg them for half of the things that we're asking them for. And likewise, half of the things that you're asking Orisha for, you could make yourself. You could team up with the person next to you and across the street from you and around the corner from you. If you worked collectively as a community, we could solve 80% of our problems. 80% of the things that you asking Orisha to do for you, we could do for ourselves as a community. This is something that I definitely have seen working in organizations and institutions in our community that are for us and by us, and seeing how our people will not join forces with the ones who are dedicated to solving our problems. They won't do it. I see it within my own organization, within the Orisha Lifestyle Academy, the School of Orisha Studies. Clearly, I know what I'm doing. Clearly, I have the position. Clearly, I am dedicated to doing this thing, solving this problem. And for whatever reason, so many hundreds of our people can't figure out how to get behind the movement. They don't perceive it as something that is theirs. And so we don't do all of the things that we could do to solve our own problems. We would rather be begging and pleading with someone else who has no incentive to help us solve our problems. It's a very deep psychological complexity. But I think if we can get to this point of understanding, people do not have to accept your sacrifice. I have to accept it even in that scenario that I just gave you. Hey, I'm making all kinds of sacrifice for my community. They don't have to accept it. They don't have to accept it. They don't. There's nothing that says that the broader community has to accept the sacrifice that I have made and continue to make to solve our problems. But the ones who do accept the sacrifice, hey, we work together. We build together. We solve the problem together. And I think that as more and more of us as individuals come to that realization that your sacrifice doesn't have to be accepted, and you need to let go of your attachment to that third thing, the sooner you're going to evolve, the more free you're going to be. All right. And so this is a lesson, as always, for the leaders. I'm reaching out to the people who want to improve the world through positive influence. If you're one of those people, then I want you to find out how Oloye or Bafemi Origuwa and the Orisha Lifestyle Academy can help you take your practice and your life to the highest level possible. Visit me at obafemio.com or orishalifestyle.com, and let's start working together to help you live the medicine that will heal your life and heal the lives of those who you're destined to serve. I look forward to working with you. Bye for now. Odabo.